Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya wal mursaleen Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sallam. Tasliman kathiran kathira. Amma ba'du. My brothers and sisters, as I mentioned to you yesterday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us that in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the best guidance, the best source of finding the right path and being on the right path that we can possibly have. And this does not refer only to his personal life. It refers to all his decisions. It refers to everything that he chose to do or not to do. We were talking about the construction of Masjid Nabawi Sharif, and lots of lessons for us to learn in terms of the construction of masajid. Now we have always had masajid, grand masajid, massive structures, very beautifully decorated, very, very embellished with all kinds of things. Structures which reflect the wealth of the builders. In some cases, they're built by one person, maybe one king, maybe one wealthy person. In other cases, they may be built by a state or or even a group of people. But this is what they show. Now, I'm not going into or I don't want to talk about people's intentions, because of course only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what is the intention of anybody, and I'm the last person in the world to say that somebody's intention is good or bad. But I do think it is important to see what we need to know about the construction of masajid. Now, Masjid Nabawi Sharif, first of all, was built of mud bricks and had a roof of date palm thatch. The floor was sand, swept clean. When it rained, sometimes water would drip down. It's a very beautiful thing to be so close to nature, to be able to pray in a place where water drips in the rain. Don't think of it as oh, this is such a nuisance. It is not nuisance. This is, mashallah, the rahmat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I was once traveling from Medina to Makkah with my very dear friend Asim and his family. My wife and I were traveling, and we stopped. Asim took us on the old road which goes past Badr. So on the way, it was time for Maghrib and then Isha. So we prayed. We combined the two salahs and we prayed. And it was a full moon, and we prayed in the desert. We first thought, let's go find a masjid. Then we said, look, we all have wudu and we have some water in case somebody wants wudu, and why don't we just pray in the desert? So we just stopped the car, parked the car by the side of the road, and we prayed in the sand. I tell you, it was one of the most beautiful prayers that I have ever prayed. Out in the open, not a sound. And that road is very sparsely, sparsely trafficked. There's hardly any cars on the road. So there's almost no ambient light. So it was just the full moon, which was bright, bright, bright. And there was just this beautiful sand throughout, and we prayed in the sand. It was so beautiful. I also remember once I was in Dubai, and I asked to spend a night in the desert. That's a long story and some sub-stories with it, so I won't go into that. But there again, I prayed. I was alone in the camp the whole night, with nobody else wanted to stay there. And I prayed Isha, then I prayed Fajr. I called the Adhan for Isha and Adhan for Fajr, and a very, very beautiful situation to stand there alone and to pray. And of course, we know we are not alone there. The Malaika of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and whoever else Allah wants to send, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself is watching and listening. It's so beautiful it was. So Masjid Nabawi Sharif was like this. There is the hadith we know of Laylatul Qadr, where Rasulullah ﷺ said that it might, the next day would be the light would be of the sun would not be sharp, and there might be a little bit of rain. And on one particular Ramadan, the Sahaba said that we saw that the blessed forehead of Rasulullah had grains of sand which stuck on it because it had rained, and some water had dripped where he was praying, and he made sujood, and this is what happened. Now, is in the construction of masajid, the ulama have said that tashheed, which is using good material for construction. So, good architecture, good material for construction. In today's world, taking care of the carbon footprint of the building and of its energy use, for example, recycling of water, whatever water is used in the wudu khana and so on. Greenery around. All of these things are, alhamdulillah, there's no problem. But what is called zakhrafa, this is prohibited. Now, zakhrafa is just gold and silver and imagery. Now, imagery obviously we do not have in Islam. We don't have imagery of people and animals and stuff. But even imagery of just flowers and this and that, which is distracting. I mean, sometimes if you go to some masajid, you have this carpet, which is you look at the carpet, it's a very beautiful carpet. There's no doubt about that. But if you try to pray on that carpet, then as you're looking at the place of sajda, it seems as if the whole thing is moving or something. It looks like butterflies and whatnot. I mean, it's very distracting. And this is not permitted in Islam. It's much better to have simplicity in that. So zakhrafa is prohibited, and the only difference of opinion among the scholars with regard to zakhrafa is not whether it's permitted or not, but whether it is haram or makruh, right? So it is not permitted. The difference of opinion is only the degree of prohibition. So it's not something which is good to do. So money or land which is used for these things, for zakhrafa, for showing up making this masjid, sort of beautifying it with all this kind of stuff, is something to be strictly avoided. And not to be done. Also, especially important, if you are using waqf property, land, or this is prohibited anyway, even if it is your own personal wealth, but especially if people have donated money for it, waqf property. Even your own money, when you have put it into a masjid, you build a masjid, the masjid then belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's no longer yours. You can't say, well, this is my masjid and tomorrow I'm going to decide that I will convert this into some other use. It cannot be done. This is a masjid, is once built, belongs to Allah, and nobody has any authority over it except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So a masjid cannot be like that. Like people nowadays, they sell churches to, because there's no population there. You cannot sell a masjid. The masjid is a masjid. Even if there's nobody there, it's still a masjid. So, using of land and money for the decoration and so on, this is prohibited. This is haram. Abu Darda radiallahu anhu said, if you decorate your mushaf and if you decorate your masajid, you will perish. Right? You will perish. And today, may Allah forgive us, this is something that we do and we take pride in that. Let us look at why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam built the masjid first, why that is so important. And to understand that, we have to see the role of the masjid in the life of the Muslims and in the community of Muslims. See what the role of the masjid is. First and foremost, it is the place of salah and dhikr. So it's a place of salah by jama'ah and the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So prayer and dhikr. Number two, it is a center of learning. Now Darul Arqam in Makkah, and which was the masjid, it was not the official masjid in that sense. It was the house which was used as the place of gathering, so it performed the same purpose. So also Masjid al-Nabawi in Medina were full-time schools. Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif till COVID shut it down and so on. Even now, There are halakas in Masjid Nabawi for the learning of the tajweed of Quran. You can even learn online. There is a website where you can go online and learn tajweed of Quran from the shuyukh, the teachers in Masjid Nabawi, and you can get a ijazah from them. So I would recommend, please do that. Look it up. You find the link for it. So the masjid is a place of learning. So halakas to study Quran and to study all aspects of Islam. It is very important to keep the masjid alive with these actions, with these things, because I've always been against doing these things in homes, in people's homes. This is a trend in many places, and it seems to be a good thing. And people say, no, what is wrong? After all, people are gathering somewhere to do something good, and they can't go to the masjid. Why can't they go to the masjid? The same people drive miles and miles and miles to go to their offices. They drive miles and miles to go to markets and so on. But the moment you say masjid, they can't go to the masjid. Why? Then why did you build the masjid? Right? Why did you build the masjid? If you are going to depopulate the masjid and do halakas in people's homes, then why do you have the masjid? For what? To do what? The second thing is that these halakas in homes, invariably, they are putting a financial burden and a burden in terms of effort and so on the people of that home. And people here almost invariably means the women, right? I don't know how many men stand there and cook the food and so on and so on. Now, no matter what you say, in our culture, it is unthinkable for us that we invite a whole bunch of people to come for halakha, and they come and we say Salaam Alaikum and Walaikum Salam, and they go home, and all they do is a drink of water from the tap, right? That doesn't happen. That cannot happen. It's a good thing it cannot happen. This is a part of our culture which is good, alhamdulillah, that we are hospitable. So if people come, we feel compelled, and we should feel compelled that we should give them something to eat, something to drink, so some tea and some coffee and so on. And believe me, it's never tea and coffee, it's always much, much more. Now, the problem is that not everyone can afford that. So for that reason, people will not go to the halakha, because they feel that if I go to the halakha, then I am always eating in somebody else's house and nobody can come to my house, because for various reasons, right? Various reasons. Maybe I am not wealthy enough, maybe my house is not big enough, maybe I do not have somebody in my house who can cook and so on and so forth. Maybe I can't afford it, or whatever the reason. The point is that I can't reciprocate, and therefore it is against my honor to go and eat in other people's places, and I can't feed them myself. So this discourages people from going. The masjid is everyone's place. It's a neutral place. It is the house of Allah. We are all the slaves of Allah. It is our place. We can all go there without hesitation. We can pray. We can sit and listen to the Quran. We can have halakas. So I strongly, strongly, strongly recommend, please do all your good works in the masjid, because that is the way to keep the masjid populated, right? Don't depopulate the masjid. Please don't do this. It is very, 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 very bad. Right? We don't have this. Just think about this. How come we don't have this from the Sunnah of Nabi Sallallahu, right? Where did Rasulullah Sallallahu hold his teaching and his halakas and so on? In Masjid Nabawi, or even next door in his own house? He didn't do it in his own house. He didn't do it in anybody else's house. In the masjid. Where did Imam Malik rahmatullahi have his durus? In the masjid. Where did Imam Ahmad have them? In the masjid. Right? So masjid is a place of gathering. It's a place for people to come together, to study the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to read the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to reflect on it, to ask questions, to get answers and so on. It gives them four things. Sakina, which is tranquility, peace, peace of mind and heart. Rahmah, the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala descends on them. The angels will surround them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will mention their names in a gathering better than theirs. And we know this from the Hadith Qudsi. Third use of the masjid is that it is a place of meeting, a place of gathering for Muslims 5 times a day for Salah and for Jummah. and to meet for any kind of collective reason that affects the Muslims. So this meeting can be just social, and we encourage that. It's very good. People should meet and socialize, and it is nothing wrong if there is some food, and if people are having some tea or some dates or some samosas or whatever is appropriate to the culture. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a very good thing to also have people who can eat in the masjid and so on. And to socialize. There are adab, there are the usul of behavior. Now, socializing does not mean that you yell and scream and you laugh loudly and you tell jokes and wrestle and fall all over the place. No, socializing means we do that, but we do that in a dignified way, in a very well mannered way. So eating and drinking is fine, but yelling and screaming and joking and so on is not okay in the masjid. Then meeting can also be for some serious reasons, maybe economic reasons, maybe reasons of safety and security, maybe reasons of education. In the case of for example, in many masajid you have some form of what we call maktab, or part-time school, right? Whether it's after school, before school, on Sundays, Mondays, whatever. It's a part-time school, and this, in our Islamic tradition, this is done 5 days a week, right, or 6 days a week. It's an everyday thing. So daily there is this couple of hours, 1 hour, 2 hours of part-time school which happens in the masjid. There is a huge benefit in that, because it's the barakah is in the repetitiveness of the schools. In many Western countries we have Sunday schools in masajid. So please understand this. Nothing wrong with it. Islamically, there is nothing wrong in having a Sunday school. By all means, you can have it. It's a matter of your convenience, so you are free on Sundays. But remember, if you are giving to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that time, because this is your, within quote, spare time, so you go to the school, or you put your children in school only on Sundays, 1 day a week. Think about this. The Sunday school, whose sunnah is it? Whose practice is it? It's the practice of the Christian church, right? Because Sunday school is from the church. And the church invented this, the Christians invented this, thinking that it will be beneficial for them. But ask yourself, who is buying churches? What is happening to churches today? Churches are empty and they are being sold. So what did the Sunday school do for the church? Nothing. Because just studying religion 1 day a week is not a particularly effective way of studying it. Because almost always, by the time next Sunday comes, those children are back to zero. Whereas in the daily system, every day there is a repetition of the class, there is reinforcement of learning, and 1 hour or 2 hours a day. So this is something which is hugely beneficial, and that's why this is also done in the masajid. The Masjid al-Nabawi also was a place of staying for the poor, for Ashabu Sufa, who stayed in the back, the Ahlu Sufa. They also people stayed there because they were poor. People also stayed there because they were not poor, they stayed there to learn. So Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, they were not poor people, but they stayed there to be close to Rasulullah and to be able to learn from him. But masajid also are places where the traveler is allowed to stay. Now, of course, in today's day and age, please be guided by whatever safety regulations you have. So I'm not suggesting that you turn the masjid into a free hotel. But at the same time, this is possible that you have people coming and staying for a day or 2 days or a few days. In the cases, for example, of people going out in the work of dawah, they might go from masjid to masjid, stay in the masajid. All of this, alhamdulillah, there is no problem with that. In terms of the masjid is also the place for dawah. Rasulullah permitted the Christians from Najran. They came and they stayed in Masjid al-Nabawi, and this is something that is well documented. They came and they stayed there. They prayed there. Rasulullah didn't stop them. So this is also shows the great wisdom and the tolerance of Islam and Muslims, that we don't simply, when people tell you that the Muslims attack others, Tell them this is so completely false and stupid. Muslims don't do any of that. This is a false allegation, because Rasulullah himself permitted the Christians from Najran to come and stay in the Masjid Nabawi Sharif, and they prayed there. He didn't stop them from praying. And obviously they were not praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they were doing their own prayer. The masjid, so therefore, in short, is a place of tarbiyah for the Muslims, and that's something which we need to bring back. Illa mashallah, our masajid today are not places of tarbiyah. At most, they are places of five times salah with patchy attendance, because usually maybe in Salatul Fajr, Salatul Isha, we have more people, but other salat we don't have people. And another big thing I must add here is, one of the reasons for that also is because, especially in America and other, I don't know about other Western countries, in the UK it doesn't seem to be the case, but America, people stay far away from masajid, right? So there are few masajids and people stay far away from masajid. And this is obviously it's a deterrent, it's a inhibitor from attending the masjid 5 times a day, because the whole idea of getting into the car and driving there and so on, and unless you do that, you can't get to the masjid. It's a deterrent, especially in bad weather. It's cold, it's there's snow and ice and sleet and whatnot. But if you stay close to the masjid, then ideally speaking, stay in a place where you can walk to the masjid, right? And not even a 5-minute walk, 2-minute walk. Stay as close to the masjid as possible. I know of places, especially in England, where people have consciously taken this decision, and they have come and they have bought up houses around masajid, and even sometimes at a premium, just to be close to the house of Allah. You are the neighbor of Allah. Think about this, right? Neighbors have rights, right? So your neighbors have rights. So if you are now the neighbor of Allah, then you have a right on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because you are his neighbor, because you are the neighbor of the house of Allah. So think about it like this, and you need to fulfill that right by going and praying in the masjid and taking care of the masjid in whichever way you can. But alhamdulillah, inshallah, you can then say, well, Ya Allah, I am your neighbor, right? So please, accept my dua. Another thing which Rasulullah did was that he allowed people who were the best in something to do that thing. He did not simply give responsibilities anyway to anybody, and he did not, for example, use a rule of seniority or something. The oldest person, senior person. He used people in a way which was best for them. Their talents were used in the best way. So specialization of work and division of labor, this is what Rasulullah also did, and that's something that he also did in the masjid. Now, some of the fadail or virtues of Masjid Nabawi Sharif, Rasulullah said, one salah in my masjid is better than 1,000 salah in any other masjid except Al-Masjid Al-Haram. And Al-Masjid Al-Haram, the reward for salah in Masjid Al-Haram is 100,000 times the reward. The reward for 2 rakat of salah in Masjid Al-Quba is like an umrah. Now please understand one thing. When we say reward for salah, we are talking about what you get for that salah. But it doesn't mean that this salah is good for 1,000 such salah. For example, if I pray 2 rakat of Salatul Fajr in Masjid Al-Nabawi, I will get, inshallah, the reward for 2,000 salah. But how many Fajr salah did I pray? 1. That's it. So I can't say, well, now I have prayed 2,000 Fajr salah, so until, for the rest of my life, this is enough, right? For next 2,000 days, I don't have to pray Fajr because I have prayed in Masjid Nabawi. And if I pray in the Haram, then for 200,000 days, I don't have to pray because I have prayed one time. No. Don't confuse this. And the reason I'm saying that is people actually do confuse this. They have, at least in our Indian subcontinent, they have this uh, this one of these false beliefs of something called Qaza-e-Umri. So they say that you pray 2 rakat of salah with the intention that you are praying this salah as qaza for all the salahs that you missed in your whole life. And this works, it doesn't work. The salah is as much as you prayed. So if you prayed 4 rakat of Zuhr, that is 4 rakat of Zuhr, khalas, nothing else. You prayed 2 rakat of Fajr, that's 2 rakat of Fajr. Nothing else. You just pray 2 rakat nafil, that's 2 rakat nafil, that's it. It's not 4 rakat, it's just 2 rakat of nafil. But the reward of that will be 200,000 in Masjid al-Haram, 2,000 in Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif. Right? The reward is different from the number of salah. So don't confuse the two. There is no such thing as Qaza-e-Umri, it does not exist. Then Rasulullah said, you should not travel to visit a masjid except 3, that is Masjid al-Haram, Masjid al-Aqsa and my masjid, which is Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif. The idea here is the seriousness of going to a masjid. He's saying don't turn masajid into tourist spots, right? You're going to see the architecture or something. No, go to a masjid to pray, and these are the 3 masajids where you should go to pray. May Allah Ta'ala give us the opportunity to pray in all of these for those of us who haven't done it. Then the importance of the Riyadul Jannah, the garden of Jannah in Masjid al-Nabawi, used to be the white carpeted area. I don't know if they've changed that, but that is the hadith of Rasulullah. He said, "Ma bayna bayti wa mimbari rawdatum mir riyadil jannah wa mimbari ala hawdi." He said, between my house and my mimbar is a garden among the gardens of Jannah, and my mimbar is on my house of Hawd al-Kawsar. Right? Now, this is from the ghaib. So, the dua I make whenever, alhamdulillah, Allah gave me the opportunity to pray in Riyadh al-Jannah, dua I made is, I said, Ya Allah, you gave me the opportunity to pray in this garden of Jannah, and it is your sunnah, and it is your promise that once a person enters Jannah, this person will not be ejected from Jannah. Right? Once you allow a person to come into Jannah, you will not throw that person out of Jannah. So you allowed me to come into Jannah, so please don't throw me out of Jannah. This is the dua I make, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept this dua for myself and for you all. May Allah grant us the opportunity to pray in Masjid al-Nabawi Sharif, in Riyadh al-Jannah, many times before we die, inshallah. About the adhan, Abdullah bin Zayd radiallahu anhu, he saw a dream at the time when the masjid had been built, and people were thinking about the best way to call people to prayer. Now, in his dream, he saw a man carrying a bell. So he asked the man, how much will you sell the bell for? The man said, what do you want it for? And Abdullah radiallahu anhu replied, he said, to call people for prayer. The man said, how about if I show you something better? And then he gave him the words of the adhan. Then he returned and he gave him the words of the iqamah. So Abdullah bin Zayd radiallahu anhu went to Rasulullah and he narrated his dream. And Rasulullah said, Inshallah, this is a good dream, it is Ruyatul Haqq. And he said, call Bilal and teach him the words, his voice is better than yours. Now, there is another narration where Sayyidina Umar bin Khattab also saw this dream, and he came at that time and he also reinforced it and said, Ya Rasulullah, I also saw the same dream. Sayyidina Bilal was taught these words, and he was the first one who called out the adhan. So the lesson here, of course, is that the Amir allocates according to talent and ability, the follower obeys without argument or complaint. Now think about it, this is the beauty of the Sahaba, where Abdullah bin Zayd radiallahu anhu didn't say, Ya Rasulullah, this is unfair, I saw the dream, you're giving it to, you're allowing Bilal radiallahu anhu to call the adhan, you at least let me call it once. He said all this. Alhamdulillah, Allah showed me the dream, this is barakah for me. The Nabi alayhi salam wants to let somebody else do it whose voice is better than mine. I don't feel offended, I don't feel bad, I don't feel, oh, I should have been given this thing. These are all very important lessons to learn uh, for us to practice in our lives. Nothing to do with adhan, in our own life, right? You have a good idea, somebody says, great idea, let someone else do it. No need to feel offended. Alhamdulillah, this is in Allah Ta'ala, we have this. And as I told you, Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu came at that time when he was teaching adhan, and he said, oh, I had the same dream, and Rasulullah was very pleased with this whole thing. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to learn His deen and to practice His deen in a way which which pleases Him, Jalla Jalaluhu, and we ask Allah to be pleased with us and never to be displeased. وصلى الله على نبي الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك يا رب.